Vong and the Segret crossbow, the epic conclusion of Vietnam's nation-building era. After many generations of stability under the Hung Kings, when Van Lang had become a familiar land of rice fields, villages, and firmly rooted communal order, history began to shift toward a new threshold. What had once sufficed for a confederation of tribes gradually proved inadequate in the face of broader transformations of the age. Population increased, contacts with external groups intensified, and the threat from the northern frontiers grew ever more tangible. It was within this historical context that An Dung Vuong emerged, not merely as a successor, but as a figure who marked a decisive transition in the nation-building period of ancient Vietnam. An Dung Vuong, according to tradition, was the leader of the Oviet people. When he united his forces with the Lac Viet, the state of O Lac was established, inheriting the legacy of Van Lang while embodying a stronger aspiration for political organization, military capacity, and long-term security. This was no longer a society governed solely by custom and ritual belief, but an early state developing a conscious sense of territory, centralized authority, and national defense. The decision to relocate the capital to Co Loa was profoundly strategic. The region was elevated, encircled by rivers, easily defensible, and well-positioned for transportation and regional control. Yet the construction of a capital city was not merely a matter of geography. It was a test of human endurance, collective will, and social cohesion. The citadel of Co Loa was built with multiple concentric ramparts spiraling outward, each layer reinforcing the next, reflecting a level of military thinking far more advanced than the village-based structures of earlier times. The undertaking, however, was anything but smooth. Legend recounts that no matter how much the walls were raised during the day, they collapsed by night, as though an unseen force opposed the endeavor. Anxiety spread among the people, not only because of exhaustion, but because faith itself was being shaken. An Dung Vuong understood that without resolving this mystery, the entire project of nation-building would collapse at its very foundation. It was at this critical juncture that the golden turtle, Kim Kwai, appeared. The image of the sacred turtle was not merely mythical ornamentation, but a symbol of ancient wisdom and the protective power of heaven and earth. Kim Kwai revealed the hidden cause of the city's failure, enabling An Dung Vuong to eliminate the unseen threat. From that moment, the walls of Ko Loa stood firm. Before departing, Kim Kwai bestowed upon the king one of its claws, instructing him to fashion it into the trigger of a crossbow, the weapon destined to become the spiritual core of the kingdom's defense. The sacred crossbow was not merely an instrument of war, it was a manifestation of belief that intelligence and ingenuity could safeguard a nation. With a single release, hundreds of arrows could be unleashed simultaneously, creating overwhelming force. In a world where numerical superiority and physical strength often determine victory, the sacred crossbow represented a revolutionary leap in military thought. From that point onward, O Lac became a power that neighboring states regarded with caution and respect. Trieu Telling, ruler of the southern kingdom of Nam Viet, soon recognized that O Lac posed a formidable obstacle to his ambitions. His early military campaigns ended in failure before the might of the sacred crossbow. Though his forces were larger and organized according to northern military models, they could not breach the defenses of Ko Loa. O Lac stood unshaken, and confidence in the crossbow grew steadily stronger. Yet it was precisely this confidence that quietly sowed the seeds of tragedy. When victory comes too easily, vigilance erodes. An Dung Vuong placed unwavering trust in the sacred crossbow, in the towering walls of Ko Loa, and ultimately in the belief that his realm was invulnerable. Trieu Telling, having learned from defeat, altered his strategy. Recognizing that O Lac could not be conquered by force alone, he turned to a subtler and far more dangerous approach: infiltration from within. Trong Thuy, the son of Trieu Telling, was sent to O Lac under the guise of seeking peace. The marriage between Trong Thuy and Princess Mi Cho, daughter of An Dung Vuong, was celebrated in an atmosphere of trust and hope. To An Dung Vuong, it symbolized reconciliation and stability. To Mi Cho, it was her first experience of love, sincere and unguarded. To Trieu Telling, however, it was the decisive move in a long, calculated plan. Trong Thuy did not rush his purpose. He lived in Ko Loa, observed patiently, learned its customs, and gradually approached the secret of the sacred crossbow. Mi Cho, raised under the shelter of power and repeated victory, had never been taught the discipline of suspicion. When she unwittingly revealed the mechanism of the crossbow, the fate of Olak was sealed, though none yet realized it. When Trong Thui departed Olak to return to Nam Viet, Mi Cho believed it to be only a temporary separation. She scattered goose feathers along his path, a tender sign by which they might one day find each other again. That innocent act, however, became the trail that guided the invading army directly to the heart of the kingdom. When Trieu Telling launched his second assault, An Dung Vung remained calm. He ordered the sacred crossbow to be brought forth, confident that a single volley would end the conflict as before. This time, however, the weapon failed. The sacred trigger had been replaced. Olak collapsed with alarming speed, scarcely understanding how defeat had come so suddenly. An Dung Vung fled southward with Mi Cho, consumed by confusion and grief. Upon reaching the seashore, Kim Kui appeared once more and revealed the truth. In that moment, the king was forced to confront the most devastating choice imaginable, between paternal love and the fate of the nation. His sword fell, ending Mi Cho's life and shattering the final illusion of an era. An Dung Vung followed Kim Kui into the sea, carrying with him remorse and defeat. In 179 BCE, Olak fell. The nation-building period of Vietnam formally came to an end, giving way to nearly a millennium of northern domination. Yet the story does not end there. The sacred crossbow was lost. The citadel of Ko Loa was occupied, but the lesson endured. The tragedy of An Dung Vung, Mi Cho, and Trong Thui became a lasting warning throughout Vietnamese history. A nation is lost not only because the enemy is strong, but because vigilance falters, trust is misplaced, and private affection outweighs collective survival. Across the centuries that followed, whenever the Vietnamese people faced the threat of foreign invasion, the story of the sacred crossbow resurfaced. Not as a tale of lamentation, but as a reminder that the true strength of a nation lies not solely in weapons or fortifications, but in clarity of judgment, unity of purpose, and perpetual awareness. Conclusion. The story of An Dung Vung and the sacred crossbow stands as the final tragic chapter of Vietnam's nation-building era. It marks both the pinnacle of early statecraft and the limit of a still fragile political system. From this defeat emerged the first profound lesson in the art of national survival, that founding a nation is difficult, but preserving it demands even greater wisdom. From that early wound, Vietnamese national consciousness was tempered and prepared for the centuries of resistance and renewal that would follow.